breakfast puppies?
This podcast contains adult language and content and is meant for mature audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
You are listening to the Glitterbois.
Francois, it's Glitterbois.
What? Fine. You are listening to the Glitterbois.
So I remember reading this book, and I must have been 17, 18, and I thought the same. And when I revisited 20 years later, I was like, God damn, someone has been reading old mid-90s Wiccan neo-pagan books like Buckland or Starhawk and gone, you know what would make this better? Explosions and aliens. There's this feel to Rifts England, which is a very like that special flavor of mid-90s neo-pagan when it was just like stepping back into the mainstream, like coming out of the darkened closet in the back of the weird bookstore and moving out onto an actual shelf. And when viewed in that light, this is a really interesting thing for its time.
Rifts England, World Book 3, is one of the more evocative books, I believe, from the early era. Like it really dives into the mythology of an era and just like it just grabs it and then hugs it tight and then like punches itself full of spikes and laser beams and then just like runs down the football field just hauling ass. Like this is if you like, yeah, exactly. You know, if you like druids, we got druids. Mm-hmm. If you like Celtic myth, we got Celtic myth. If you like King Arthur and shit, we got that too. It's
Arthurian
legend is alive in this game.
As a huge fan of the Arthurian legend, I gotta say though, I don't care for this take.
Why not? Well, okay, let's explain the take real quick.
Okay, so Merlin is bad. Merlin is an extra-dimensional entity of unspeakable evil who is there to sabotage good King Arthur and his noble knights and dragon friend.
Well, he's not there to sabotage them. He is there to, he's creating them. Like he has set it all up from the beginning. He has turned Arthur into this nobody into a great leader. Now, you know, Arthur has his own talents and he's a good leader himself, but Merlin there is his backup, his advisor. He's basically building yet a fascist regime on Rift's Earth.
In Rift's Earth? What? Damn, my what was just a second too late. I don't like it because the traditional Merlin character, like taking the Mary Stuart Crystal Cave example, which used to be viewed as like fairly definitive, was a very sympathetic character. You already have villains in the Arthurian mythos, and I didn't think it needed a new one. The Merlin has been kicked around quite a bit already, and it was just me as an Arthurian legend idiot that didn't like it. There's nothing wrong with it as itself. I've developed a lot of empathy for Merlin over the years, and I did not like this take on him.
You like your old wizards.
I do, and I also like... He feels like the evil, the Grand Vizier. Like, this one could come from Aladdin, and I just didn't like the take.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's so much bad shit going on at the court of Camelot in Rift's Earth that you're almost like, why does he even need all these people?
Yeah.
You know, like the intelligence
the Lady of the Lake
already owns the Nexus Point and is already now straddling multiple dimensions, and he has already fractured himself into multiple copies. Mm-hmm. You're almost like, why even bother with Camelot if you are this evil? You've got the world is now your oyster. You don't need all these people. Just, you know, go forth and evil.
Yeah. I didn't care for that part. And I have to say, there's another thing that bothered me too about this book. I didn't like the art.
Interesting.
It was I had a feeling that while this book was well written, like the art was added last minute. Like we need this, then this. And like the artists that traditionally do a very good job just were churning it out to meet a deadline, it felt like. Like nothing was next level. Everything was like bare description.
You know, I'm looking through it again right now, and I'm with you here. This, I think, would be great art if it weren't rifts. If they had made this like a fantasy setting, there's a lot more of that old school style original Palladium fantasy art happening here. In fact, a lot of this is from original Palladium fantasy, it looks like. And I love that stuff, but it doesn't really fit rifts. Yeah, you're right. A lot of it's very uninspired.
Yeah, I would like to also introduce a new subsegment into our show here, which is Find the Mechanoid's Art.
Oh, what'd you find?
It's in the bugs.
The bugs?
The bugs. Yes.
Yes, so there is a new alien race here, or there's several of them, but there is one specifically called the Dubug or Debugs. And
Yeah.
guess what? They look like bugs. That's a little bit on the nose there.
Yeah, I think where I started to lose it was with the Millennium Trees.
Oh, so page 1.
Yeah, page 10 actually. There was a chance for some truly epic art that wouldn't have taken all that long. And I'm normally like really happy with Long's work. I like it.
Yeah.
It's clean.
Yeah.
But it wasn't mighty, it wasn't fell, it wasn't noble, it wasn't majestic. It's just a big tree with weird acorn houses.
Yeah, I am a full agreement on that one. The picture of the Millennium Tree is just rather uninspiring. There's nothing really happening here. There's none of it's not rifts, you know. It's all peaceful. It's fucking shepherds, like
yeah.
But
like I said, someone had read the one of those late 90s neo-pagan books and just like, hey, let's bring this into riffs is what I felt like this. The tree grants gifts. Yeah. Bark armor.
You know, the bark armor, I think, is kind of cool. I like the gifts. I like the way that the twigs have magic, although it does feel that the trees themselves are like some kind of a just boring ass shoe-in for random Deus Ex Machina gifts of power, you know?
Yeah. Anyone who's good can pray and be revived and healed at the Millennium Trees. If you're not looking at the book like we are, the Millennium Tree is a giant 1,000-yard tall tree that is semi-sentient, rewards the good with gifts of its own body. It's the giving tree for good people.
And it rewards the evil with storms.
Yeah, big ones.
Yeah.
And explosions if they attempt to remove pieces of the tree.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's a little bit of it's a little bit more frou, this one.
Yeah. It felt like what I didn't like about it is anyone could run up to the tree and yell base and touch the tree and just be fine.
Yeah.
And I as a fan of the Desperate Last Stand, I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all.
Yeah, you don't really like goodness and wholesomeness in your fantasy?
I do, but I don't think it lends to heroics.
Gotcha.
If you have base that cannot be hit by any means, that can defend itself, that can resurrect you, it's just you're not playing at your deepest. You're not playing at you're not taking as many risks.
Fair enough. Yeah.
The drama kind of goes away.
I know that the topic of the Millennium Trees has been something of a hot button over the years among other Rifts fans. Some people also see them as that kind of, that one source of ultimate power. Well, it's like, no matter what goes wrong in life, we can always just go back to the Millennium Tree and he'll make everything fine.
Yeah. And I didn't like that. There's also something I did like. I like all the temporal classes. Those are fun for me.
Well, before we get into the classes, looking back at the Millennium Tree, at least, is where we start to see the first new character classes in this book. And I do like the classes, and I like them because this is still the early Rifts era where classes did not require a massive list of special abilities that could blow up planets at the beginning. Like, really, many of the classes in this book, like the knight classes that we get later, They don't have anything but a list of skills, your standard class, just a list of skills, a list of stuff and whatever, go forth and play. So it's very much in that old school first era Rifts where these characters are expected to, if they go adventuring, pal around with people like vagabonds.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that.
Yeah, like the herbalist.
Yeah.
Increase potency of teas.
Yeah. Detect poison by smell and taste. I mean, that's an adventurer power right there.
Heal plant life.
Sense weather conditions. Yeah, see, I love that they have this is definitely more of a long-term character, you know, a character that is going to be more defined. Honestly, a character like this is probably not going to be heavily defined by any of these skills. This is going to be something
their
that they
role
can fall back on, but they're probably going to be the one who's going forth and doing things unusual.
Mm-hmm. And as a person who really, tends to play that, I really like some of the what people would consider the non-power or the weaker OCCs in this book. I would absolutely play an herbalist. Number 10, metamorphosis into a tree. I swear I'm going to do that in a fight. You guys got this. I'm taking my tea and leaving.
Yeah, and speaking of tea, we have pages and pages and pages and pages of herbs and teas and concoctions and everything from like cedar tree and clover all the way to like magical herbs that they invented just for this. If you have any interest whatsoever in herb lore, in potions, and in like getting nitty gritty into that kind of stuff, the level of detail that they go here and the varieties of things that you can mix are wonderful.
And honestly, some of it is accurate.
Huh.
Yeah, which is interesting. There's herb magic. There's all kinds of different hedge wizardry, kitchen magic, kitchen witches that goes on in here. And honestly, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and then we get some more classes. We get another herbalist and then another herbalist. But one of them is called the Philid, and the other one is called a Dryad, but they're basically herbalists. And then we get the Cauldron Maker. Oh,
it's not what you think. Different cauldron.
Oh my God, they get so many cauldrons, and then they get chains and arrows and javelins and mallets. Basically the magical blacksmith. And I really like that concept.
Yeah. Then there's the Scathach.
Yeah, that's the one I was just talking about. They get the cauldrons. Yes.
Is the magical warrior. You have the Millennium Druid, the carer of the tree.
They're boring.
Which is, again, not a great picture either.
Like their whole thing, and this is an example of one who's really just nothing but a list of skills. But their whole thing is they might, maybe, possibly be able to convince the tree to maybe, kinda, sorta help you.
Yeah.
Like I can't see any reason to ever play one of these. Why would you ever leave the grove?
No, this is absolutely an NPC. Also, that picture, it's missing something. And I looked at it long and hard and tried to figure out what was missing from the Millennium Druid OCC. And he needs a djembe under the other arm.
And a shell necklace.
Yeah. Yeah, not from the Caribbean, just from Hawaii. They're puka. Then you have another dragon, and I'm not sure why this dragon is in England.
I know, it is really interesting that they took the Asian dragon and put it here in England. There's some story behind it. I think they wanted to put it in here because of their presence for some reason fighting Merlin in them. Then they talk about where all the Chenku are across the world. Essentially, we have a race of very powerful dragons that are going extinct. But they are hot on the tail of the previous world book, Atlantis. Remember Atlantis? We had the tattoo magic and the tattoo man and the Maxi Man. And
Maxi Man.
Now we have the source of that power, where it originally came from. These guys have the old magic of the tattoos.
Then we have another racial character class, the Children of Earth and Stars. Vaguely, the good people once again. like elementalists, basically, or elementals more, like a human elemental, an embodiment of whatever element they choose.
Yeah, one of them turns into an earthen juggernaut, and the other one turns into a shooting star. Yeah, and they have a little bit of psionics, and there's, I don't know, they're kind of interesting. I don't have much in the way of ideas coming from these guys. They don't inspire me that much.
There's a lot of RCCs and OCCs in here that I honestly thought should have been kept as NPCs, not really racial character classes, occupational character classes. Like the Millennium Druid would never do anything outside of maybe 50 miles from home.
You know, you're right, but Palladium has always basically turned everything into an OCC, even classes that you're not supposed to play. Like the Sage in fantasy and the Alchemist, they're listed as OCCs with the parentheses, not available as a player character. But still, Kevin likes you to see how these guys will also level up, you know?
Okay, that makes sense to me. Yeah.
But you're right. I just can't. Why would you play a Millennium Druid? You know, it just, unless all of you were just sitting around a fire going kumbaya
with our djembes. Mm-hmm. We've got insect folk. We've got lizard folk. We have monsters that are copy pasters.
Yeah, there's not much to say about them. Aliens. They hate each other.
I believe 62 was that. That's not Mechanoids. Was that Wormwood?
Maybe Wormwood hasn't come out by the time this is published. We did Wormwood a little early because I was excited about it. But back at the very beginning of this book, we have the introduction from Erin Tarn,
who mentions Wormwood.
Yeah, who mentions Wormwood that she just came back from, and Wormwood has been alluded to a few times in this book as something that's coming out later. Yeah, beetles, bugs, whatever that petal thing. That's that. There's some interesting monsters in here. The thing about it is, though, none of these creatures make me think England.
No.
So far, the only thing in this book that has made me think England are druids.
You know, I will say they did. Yeah, and the druids don't even wrap anyone's guts around the oak tree. I mean, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I will say this. Thank you, Kevin, for not putting in a Robin Hood analog. Thank you so much. Like there's, I appreciate you not picking that low hanging fruit. I really do. And then you get to the temporal wizards. Oh, I love them so. Like if you could play a temporal wizard, why do anything else? It's a temporal wizard. You can be a godling, absolutely.
The main issue with the temporal mages, and it's not an issue for me, I should note, but the limiter, that's the word I'm looking for. The main limiter on the temporal powers, be you a temporal wizard, a temporal raider, or a temporal warrior, is you can't go back in time. That's the main one. The magic is all pretty cool, but you can't go backwards. So it's an interesting limit that they put on it. I guess maybe they just didn't want to go writing up all of the details of how to handle time travel in your game, but it's a forward or to the present, but you can never go backward kind of thing.
I like the space aspects more than the time aspects. I like the pocket dimensions. I like the dimensional shifts from 3D to 2D. I like the endless pocket of holdings. I like the walk-in closet of safety. There's a lot of golden age sci-fi happening in this subclass. There's a lot of Filippo a farmer happening in this OCC series, and I really like it.
Yeah, the dimensional magic is pretty cool. Especially, we've talked about this a bit in the Rifter when we looked at, was it Spatial Mage? Mm-hmm. Was that it? So yeah. I think that the two of them make a good combination. Like, I think a Spatial Mage and a Temporal Mage, I'd have to sit and run some numbers, but I think they'd be a good match for each other. They'd be good foils.
Once again, I will say this is probably a little much for a player, but god damn for the villain.
Yeah.
Like so good. So good.
Yeah, the time warp spells specifically, those are fascinating. Don't want to really go much into them because of time limitations here. Time, but they are fairly interesting. They sound at first you're like, oh, it just fucking sends you into the future, but it actually does. It does. It sends you into the fucking future. But problem with that, of course, is you can't go back. So if you send a player character a year in the future, well, guess what? You're never going to see that player character in play for another year.
Right.
So now that player has to make a new character.
Yeah, I like the TDEP spell, the time deprivation spell. It plays havoc with the victim's perception of time.
Yeah, that one's good. Yeah.
That's like it just takes away your base. Temporary time hole, time maelstrom, time barrier, time capsule. I mean, there's so much good stuff here that would just be really an amazing way for a villain to fuck with a party.
Yeah.
It's like, we have him cornered. That's a dead end. Well, there's a picture of a guy on the wall, but he disappeared. Then we get into the main the main setting that's detailed here, which is Camelot.
Yeah. Don't
really much, like I said, don't care for it. Didn't like the take on the Arthurian legend, especially the pseudo clever stuff like Excalibur being Caliber X. Just
it's trying a little too hard. Yeah. It not my favorite.
No. That said, I mean, if you're not like me and a huge Arthurian geek, there's a lot of stuff you can take here. It's a complete setup. There's a whole campaign built in there.
Yep. You got factions, you have villains, you've got friends, you've got enemies, you've got NPCs there to guide you, possibly help you. You've got possibly the good guys fighting the bad guys who might actually be the good guys. There's some intrigue going on here. It's pretty good on that regard.
I just, there's just something about it that just didn't grab me. Camelot was supposed to be a shining human ideal, and I didn't like what it was, what it was made into.
I can totally accept that. I don't really have much of an opinion on it personally, although that picture of King Arthur is terrible. I'm sorry, Kevin. I know you've done some good work. That's not one of them.
No, he's done some amazing work.
Yeah, that sword looks terrible.
Yeah. But I mean, it is what it is. Even our favorite setup here can't hit everything every time. I do like that they brought forth Percival. I usually name at least one pet Percival.
Oh, nice.
Because I always have a Percival. Brave and noble men have been named Percival.
Yeah, I do like some of the new takes that they have on the knights, but again, it's trying too hard.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, we got a city. We don't have a map though. I'm sad about that. There should have been a map. But you do
about the British Isles, and then it goes into some interesting facts about the surrounding area. You have Ireland, Scotland, Wales.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and if you like hinges, we have lots of hinges.
Oh, we got hinges for you.
Hey, leyline maps, I really dig those. One thing that's fascinating here is that we haven't really had much in the way of leyline maps up to this point in the game, because North America has actually been low on ley lines. There's a lot more in the far east of the North America than there is anywhere else, but most of the rifts so far has just been kind of vaguely North American. Now that it's in England where magic happened, this is full of leyline activity.
Which does explain Merlin's interest. But yeah, there's more on this tiny island than there are in all of the Americas. So
I do like the picture of the Fomorians, or is that whoever that is? That asshole without the eye. That I like that picture. He just page 126.
You just like the finger earrings, don't you?
They're pretty cool too. Yeah. But yeah, we got some gods and yeah. I'm losing my excitement about this by the minute. It's kind of a generic, boring book.
Yeah. There's some interesting stuff there, but the world building of it felt like they just said, we're going to take it back to Arthurian legend and let it go at that. And it feels contrived and it feels a little forced.
Yeah.
I would be very interested to hear in what survived of England. And I don't know why anything survived of England, because there's no part of England that's tall. And the coasts were fucking wiped, and the wave doesn't stop just because, it's on the other side of the Atlantic. Well, actually, that's the Chaos Earth interpretation, but still. Yeah, I just wasn't feeling it.
I like that there are random encounter tables. I love random encounter tables. So the inclusion of them here, it's very nice. I like that there's adventure seeds. I like that there's actually a fully fleshed adventure with some NPCs and some things going on and some monsters. I like that we even get a tiny little look at France. Just France gets a fourth of a page.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's number wang.
Yeah. It goes into some of the villainous things, the blood magics, and then you get some mushrooms, and then it just goes into character sheets.
Yeah, they can't all be good. And we just had two really awesome world books back to back. Like Vampire Kingdoms was amazing. Atlantis was fantastic. I guess they had to hit a speed bump at some point.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, I think England is a fantastic setting. I mean, it's a classic adventure seed, and I just don't quite think they grabbed it. Like they tried, and they hit some of the classic elements, which on paper would have been really good, but I wasn't feeling it.
What I would like to do as a proposal for players who want to run something in England and they want some better, inspiration, and they find that the Rifts England book is just lacking, is my recommendation would be to forget about it. And then instead, if you can, get a copy of the Palladium Fantasy second edition stuff, because, it's Western fantasy written by a white guy, which means it's England. So get some of that stuff. But specifically, if you want to get a feel of the English setting, I would say, in my opinion, go for something like the Land of the Damned books or the Eastern Territory. Take a mix of those things and then just apply some mega damage armor to it. And then I think you got a lot more opportunity for some adventuring across the English countryside kind of stuff.
I would have taken it in a different direction. The thing about England, and England at the height of its power, what I consider to be quintessentially English, is its navy, is its naval might. I would have gone in that direction with it. I would have played up the long series of battles between England and France, and I would have put that's how I would have done post-apocalyptic England.
Interesting.
Not taking it back to Arthurian, but taking it back Napoleonic. There is a new power rising in France, because you don't want to do that again to Germany. This brilliant general, who is controlled by otherworldly intelligences because rifts, is opposed by the plucky little seafaring country. I would have steered well clear of Merlin. I would have steered well clear of just the whole Arthurian legends, and gone with the Master and Commander era, the kind of feel to it.
I would prefer, if I'm going to do something thematically English, would be to take it much further back, not to Arthurian, but to Roman invasion of England, kind of stuff.
The Romans versus the Picts.
Well, there's a show on Amazon, which is, in my opinion, still to date, one of the best fantasy shows, despite it not actually being fantasy, called Britannia. It is a beautiful show. It is well acted. One of the characters is essentially, I believe he is alluded to be the Roman who stabbed Jesus. There's druids.
Casca.
What?
Casca.
Yeah, there's druids, there's Picts, we got barbarians, we have, some weird mythology happening here. We got crazy people. It's a really good show. And I think taking something like that and amping up the mystery to it, the mythology, the mysticism, but then also adding some laser guns, and I think you got a good campaign.
I wanted to see giant ship robots myself personally. Like this was your opportunity for giant battleships. And that's just the way I would have taken it. But honestly, I like that era too, where Rome begins, like where the tide goes back in with Rome, and their furthest lapping wave starts to pull back. And what is it? There's that old saying where the last legion settled down and took barbarian brides instead of making the long trek home. That would have been an interesting kind of feel to it, like empire receding and recarving a kingdom out of the shambles that was left behind.
Oh yeah, they totally could have made an analogy there with the NGR. Perhaps the NGR had like invaded or something and then got pushed back by the locals. See, I think we're writing our own alternate version of Rifts England, one that actually has more England in it than this one did. And I think we'd like to hear, dear listener, what you would have done with a Rifts England book to make it more Englandy.
Not a single red coat anywhere to be found. It just makes me sad. No plucky tars. Yeah.
Yep. I don't really have much more to say about this.
No spotted dick. No clotted cream. No blood pudding. No marmo.
This was before Austin Powers, sadly.
All right. Well, yeah, that was Rifts England. I think, honestly, I mean, if you're building up your book collection like we are, well, like I am, I think NPC is pretty much gotten most of it.
Oh, I have a lot of gaps.
Well, I mean, yeah, but if you're building it out, you want Rifts England, you do, but it's not high on my priority list.
Yeah, it's definitely one that I would put in the backfill list.
Yeah.
I've read everything else already. I need something new. That list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's not, I feel like I've come down on it pretty hard and kicked it while it was down, and I feel a little bad about that.
Yeah, we did. We both did.
But I want to say that it's not bad. It could have been a lot more. And I think that's what I'm feeling is the missed opportunity more than my disappointment in what was actually presented.
I'm with you there. A lot of missed opportunity.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So that's Rifts England. Thanks for listening.
That's Rifts England, and thanks for listening. And don't forget, February we are doing our first book club. The first one is Robotech Genesis by Jack McKinney. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it at the library probably, or Goodwill. Cheap ass book.
Yeah, you can absolutely get like most of the series at Goodwill.
Yeah, it gives some interesting insights into what's actually happening before the Robotech show begins. Mm-hmm. So it's actually recommended reading. Check it out. Yeah. Join us. Talk about it with us online. And then at the end of the month, we'll do a review.
And if you're one of the actually people, we do, it's tangentially part of Palladium. It's the seven removes of Kevin Bacon or whatever the hell that was. And I feel comfortable going over it, and I don't mind straying off topic for some of these things. Yeah. And those books are dear to me, man. They're really good.
We've talked about them so much. I just felt it was just only due that we make that our first book.
And like I said, it's still going to be a little bit. So you got time. Go out and get it. It's not a long read. Read along with us. Join our book club.
All right. See you next time.
We should get stickers like Oprah.
You've been listening to The Glitterbois, a Palladium Books fan podcast. Glitterbois, Rifts, the Megaverse, and all other such topics are the property of Kevin Siembieda and Palladium Books. Please buy all their stuff and help keep them in print and making more games. You You can order directly at palladiumbooks.com, and their entire catalog is available digitally at Drive-Thru RPG as well. Our opening music is 8-Bit Bass and Lead by Furby Guy from freesound.org. This closing music is Caravana by Philip Gross, available at freemusicarchive.org. All sound effects used are self-made or acquired via Creative Commons Zero license. If you like what you have heard, find us on Twitter and Facebook as The Glitterbois. That's BOIS. And check us out online at breakfastpuppies.com/glitterboys. And also join us on the Breakfast Puppies Network Discord at breakfastpuppies.com/discord. And if you want to help us out, please spread the word and help us build a community. Thanks again for listening. We'll catch you next time.